Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined today by two very special guests, returning guests to the podcast. I get really excited when I say that, which people I'm sure are sick of, but it's awesome when we get to have people that come back that didn't have a too terrible of an experience the first time, that they're willing to come back on the show.
Absolutely.
Tom Gissler, Chief Revenue Officer here at Core, and Beth Thompson, VP of Events here at Core. Thank you guys both so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Glad
this
to be
has been, we're here at the Collective still. It's been an incredible event. Seriously, want a big shout out to both of you. I know it's been a labor of love and frustration at times, I'm sure.
Of course.
Big events like this, it's just how it goes. But I'd love to kind of get your thoughts as we're getting to the end. We're not quite to the finish line yet, but we're almost there. Give me your thoughts, feelings. How's it been the last couple of days?
You may kick this off?
Please.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, it's your baby.
So, slightly. So I have to admit, I'm on the downhill slope at this point, but I'm really pleased with how this year has gone. It's been a really exciting time. The things that stand out in my mind right this minute is getting to see new faces that haven't been here before, that get to experience what the collective hype is all about. Our goal as a company is always to deliver that next level experience, stay on the cutting edge, kind of do something a little different. That's always a challenge to kind of outdo yourself from year to year, but we definitely put in the effort. Something that I want to just throw out there today to anybody that might be listening that is attending Collective. Today at the end of the show, they'll get a feedback survey. And I know we do a lot of surveys and fatigue and all that good stuff, but we really, really hope that the conversations you've kind of had of the things you loved or the things you didn't, that you can get that to us, because the only way for us to just continue to elevate year over year is to hear ways from you guys of things that different people need, the vendors, how can we make it better for you? That's always a tricky element. Or for speakers, if you have recommendations, or the parties, what did you love? What would you like to see? That feedback is invaluable to us because, as you know, in our conversations prior to, we really, really want this to be of value to each player that comes. And so we're always looking for ways to do that, ways to improve. We had an incredible keynote this year, Clint Pulver. I'm telling you,
he was awesome.
He rocked out. And
don't take my favorite thing, Beth. You're taking my
favorite.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
He was awesome. He was awesome.
Just so grateful that we were able to get him here and have that experience. And I hope that's something that really landed with the audience. But gosh, I could talk about everything, but I'm going to stop and let Tom tell something, because I'll take this whole podcast.
Go for it, Tom. Go for it.
I tell you what's interesting is we're coming at it really from entirely different perspectives. Beth puts this on. She knows how the sausage gets made. This is my first collective. So I'm not only new to Core, newish now, about 4 months in or so, but it's my first collective. And I've been to every other show under the sun. And I've been to big ones and I've been to little ones. And this, if you've not been to the collective, you cannot imagine to the degree to which it is an entirely different animal. And it's so fitting because Core itself is this bespoke, different sort of an animal inside the industry. And so, of course, I should have expected, and I did expect, actually.
He didn't expect live flowers.
No, it's so extra.
It's like,
it is so extra.
That? He didn't expect people in the pool.
Well,
he didn't expect the extras that kind of take place at a core event.
Well, it's not only it's that the sum of the parts are it's such a special thing. It's been over the top at times. It's been magical at times. It's been so energetic. You think of the keynote speakers but at the same time, there's a kind of intimacy. There's a sort of a smallness to it at the same time.
That's a good way to describe it.
That allows really what's been most valuable to me, even as a Core member, is that the conversations that have been had in the hallway or in the booth, in the vendor hall, or wherever you might be, the conversations have been lengthy and in depth and personal in a way that at other shows that might be larger or you're overwhelmed by the number of people or whatever. So I've just been really impressed by that, I think, is that there's value in every corner of the show that I did not expect, as well as beauty and aesthetic and all of it. So it's just been wonderful. And it's probably, a selfish thing to say as an employee of Gore, but dang it if this ain't the best one, I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like you guys have really, you've thread the needle of, and this is, I think, kind of going back to one of your points, Tom, was some shows are too massive.
Right.
And some shows are too small. Like from a vendor perspective, some shows it's man, I don't know if it was really worth it for us to attend. And you guys really thread this needle of big enough that you get to meet and network with a lot of people,
right,
a lot of vendors.
Right.
But it's not so big that I know a lot of the people in there, and I know a lot of the people that are walking around, and it's cool, right?
I appreciate you saying that, because that's really what we were just talking about, was how setting the right expectation for what the collective is, who's going to be here, and it really is the relational show. We're all about culture and relationship. You're going to have more in-depth conversations. You might not have as many. You know, I told Katie and I were talking earlier, and if you have 20 people in a session and nobody's paying attention, would you rather have 5 that are highly engaged that you're going to have a long-term relationship with, or 20 that come in because they want the points and then they leave? You're going to choose the 5 that you build with. And that's kind of where I think collective and core, we're somewhat different in that it's easy to sometimes think, well, I had all these, I got 100 leads. But if those go nowhere and you just take them back, but if you build something long-term, we're more of a long game.
Yeah.
Would you say it that way?
I would agree, but it's more than that. Last night at the party, which no words.
That's a good way to put it, Tom.
I will give you a sentence that I would not have expected to say. I was watching a woman get a permanent tattoo at the party while standing next to the head of claims of a major carrier. It was mind bending. It was just incredible. How is all this happening?
Yeah.
So when you go to of course the big shows are big shows, but you're going to see the head of claims up on stage from about 4 acres away from your seat in the ocean, where the head of claims at the collective is playing bags with you in the lounge.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I just find that much more valuable. I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
I love that, and I think that's what's been, I don't know, most eye-opening, I guess, about this was you've thread the needle, like I said, that it's not too big, but it's also not so small that I've also met a ton of new people too, and people that I haven't been exposed to before. So it's been this great balance, and it's been great connecting with other people. To go back to what you were talking about, Beth, I think my favorite piece, and I'm sure a lot of people at shows feel this way, but my favorite piece was probably the keynote from yesterday. I mean, Clint was incredible, and it was a great mixture of fun and kind of dorkiness, to an extent.
Yeah.
But engaging and also really actionable items.
Right.
Yes.
So many of those motivational speakers are just rah, rah, go fight, win, and then they leave. But he was hey, go fight, win, and here's how you do it.
And here's 2 things I want you to do when you leave. And I want you to put it in your phone, and I want you to be intentional.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
They had some great stuff like that Matrix where he was talking. Yeah, there was just so many cool things he talked about.
And there's so much you're not going to forget about that. How many times have you had a bucket in front of you and drumsticks? I mean, that may have been my first time to ever, I'm not a drummer, so I don't get to have that, kinesthetic experience of, I don't know, it's just an interesting thing.
It really, again, it's a microcosm of the conference as a whole, though. Because, you've got human-sized walking flowers next to, actionable meetings that are taking place at the same time. And that was what was sort of mind-bending about that keynote, was that he would at one moment be playing, pour some sugar on me, you know what I'm saying? And the next moment have a slide up that you're scramling to take a picture of because it's some of the best information that you had all week.
That's how it is to be a mentor.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was, it was wonderful.
His mentor message, I think we all want that.
Yes.
Don't we?
Create little moments.
I want to be that, but I want that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And just understanding what that actually looks like, I think that's huge. Because I think we talk about leadership and we hear all the time, your title doesn't make you this or that. And it's so true. But how do you find a mentor? How do you become a mentor? What are you doing in your day-to-day life that creates that legacy value?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he just, to me, had all the depth that I enjoy, and just very inspired.
Oh, so good. What about, well, who's your favorite? And maybe we can go new, or maybe someone that you used to know that you're just reconnecting with. Favorite person that you were able to see at the conference today? Could you dumb it down to one person? I know that's probably hard. That's probably super hard. You can either go somebody new, or somebody maybe that you knew previously, hadn't seen in a while.
And I can't say you. Let me say you, Hayden.
Okay.
Because I really did want you to experience this.
Thank you.
We
Appreciate it.
last year, Diane and I met you on a podcast.
Yep.
I will say, props to Hayden. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
You're very
Appreciate
easy
it.
to talk to. Some podcasts, you sit there and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to say next? You make it a very comfortable conversation. So
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I would say that. And we really enjoyed that the very first year. And then we were able to talk to you again. And for you to actually come and now experience it, it's exciting for us to be able to see that and hear your feedback.
Yeah.
That's fun. So you're
well, thank you.
and I'm not by brownie points.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to top her answer.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, luckily you're not my favorite, so I can. Yeah.
Well, I gotta keep coming to these to try and get into Tom's
win
favorite.
his award.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you what was interesting to me is being in the room with the majority of the members of CORE in general. And some of these guys are heroes of mine that I've seen do massive projects or grow exponentially in their businesses or do really, really cool cultural things with their employees. And so it's not only being in the same room with them and having access to them, but these guys, 201, are humble and open and sharing. And with some of the newer members or smaller members even, are just saying, hey, man, have you thought about this? How can we help you do this? Hey, call me outside of the collective and I'll help you get over. And what the feedback to me has been, if there hadn't been a breakout, if there hadn't been a party, if there hadn't even been a Clint, that alone was worth the ticket to come in and just experience that culture. And I don't even know how that happened. I don't know, we get to have it, but somebody must have been intentional about it. I just am stoked to see it.
Maybe this person.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. I think I have a terrible answer for my own question because I don't know if I could sum it up into one person. I'd probably have to do at least two. But the two people that come to my mind we had an awesome, and I got to do a podcast with her earlier today, which was great, but Claire Carreras with Atex Restoration. She's awesome. And she's a client of ours, which is cool, but we get to help them do their marketing. And it was one thing to meet her, interact with her over Zoom, but again, to be here and her energy, and she's so excited and it was amazing. And she was great on the podcast. And then
you had not met her in person.
No.
See, that's another thing that I love about Collective. We create those opportunities for you to engage with a client that you had not engaged with in person.
Bryce, our VP of sales, and I had met her over Zoom, but not in person. Again, we're in Idaho and she's in Texas. That just doesn't happen very often.
Right.
And it was amazing. She was so cool and came by our booth multiple times and took pictures with us. It was great. The other person was, again, somebody brand new, Eric Anderson. He's with... I'm going to butcher his company's name, Eco Restoration. He's in New Hampshire, Rhode Island area.
Okay.
He came out of Katie's breakout session. Was like, hey, Katie said you have a podcast. I want to do a podcast with you. So he came on, did a podcast with us, went live on his Facebook, had close to 10 people watching live on his Facebook while we did this podcast.
Okay.
Had a insurance agent text him after the podcast. He had tuned in live and was like, hey man, we haven't done any work together in a long time. Love the podcast you did. Would love to reconnect. It was so cool.
You get to see it all work right in front of you. That's amazing.
Eric was an amazing just hang anyways. But then that moment was just incredible. So I
love it.
Anyways, those two were probably my favorite moments and people that I got to meet with, as well as everybody else that I'd already interacted with. It's just it's been an awesome time. What about moving and looking forward? I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but as we're looking forward into next year, Collective 25 and beyond.
Yes.
What are some things that you're going to take with you for next year that maybe you're going to, I don't know if you have anything you want to tweak or change, or maybe just a really good thing that you want to continue doing that you did for a first time?
So I'll speak to that. It's funny how Scott Severe, who was our MC, and I were talking yesterday about how the older you get, the more you realize you miss a lot of moments. Because you think when you're like a driven personality, you got to stay ahead, you got to keep going. If I'm not working, they're working, and and you just miss the being that's there. And so one thing I've tried to do, which is really, really difficult for me, is like be here and not worry about next year. But I have to admit, I have failed miserably today. And today, we've actually had a lot of conversations about Collective 25. We're already in contract for 2025. We've already had that on the books. We start planning before this one even takes place. But we do have a lot of things already in our minds that will be improved, that we want to focus on, that we want to go back and revisit, how we can enhance the vendor experience. That's something that's high on the priority list. Just different things that we are going to brainstorm. But I'm going to really try to allow myself to enjoy the fact that we had a successful show, that we worked all year, that a lot of pieces came together just the way we needed them to, and that all the little things from the flowers to the speakers showing up to the VIP boxes in the rooms to the media pods getting set up to the hotel reservations to all the pieces, we did it. And I want to enjoy that moment before 100%. I jump into the stress of 2025 and just managing that hopefully better next year than I did. You just try to improve each year.
Well, and I think that you could distill that into like the thing you take with you is like you guys had a really successful show. If nothing else, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to like necessarily be like, well, let's do our reservations different. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If nothing else, you can just be like, hey, we kick butt this year, and we're going to kick butt again next year, and that's really, really cool. Yeah. So, Tom, what about you? I know you're new to all this.
I'm so new. Yeah. I'm so overwhelmed.
He is speechless.
Maybe next year, the only thing you'll take with you is you'll be more prepared. You'll be ready for like moving flowers.
Now that's true.
Yeah.
Next year, I will be more prepared. But I did a whole lot of walking around slack-jawed, staring at just the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Being surprised by the encounters and the thoughtfulness that went into literally every corner. Little places where you can duck off and have a conversation, spaces where you're surprised by refreshments. Just all of that. I honestly can't think of how to improve it. Although I'm sure we will. I mean, it's crazy. It seems to get better every year from what I'm told. That's the feedback that I'm getting. So, I wouldn't change. I can't imagine. I'm like Beth. First of all, I'm out of gas. I've had so many conversations. My voice is leaving. So the thought of thinking is hard.
That's true. The thought of thinking.
Well, I think if nothing else, you both, and you especially, Beth, but I think just what you guys are doing at Core in general, just take that knowledge of like, you guys are like doing some really, really cool stuff, which is exciting. Man. It's so exciting to be like, we're on the cutting edge of something that is just very different in the industry. Like there's not something else out there like Core, which is fascinating. And I think it's cool to be a part of it in some small way. Maybe it's a media pod in the hallway, but it's something that's really, really cool to just see it happening like in front of your eyes, which is really awesome. So,
Agreed.
Well, anything else you want to leave with our audience? We're going to get this posted up on social media and all over the place, but as people are tuning in and listening, maybe they're not a part of Core already or they haven't been to the collective. What's one thing that you would maybe leave them with as they're listening to this?
Yeah, let me jump in and say this, and I don't know, Beth, if this is are there opportunities? I know that costs always go up, and I don't know what ticket prices are going to be next year. And this is going to sound super salesy, but I'm a salesman, so that's what I'm going to do. But I invited people this year, and I probably wasn't the greatest sales guy because I'd never been, but I was like, hey, come. Trust me, I'm going to be a better sales guy next year. But there were a lot of folks that I invited that just didn't come.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of coming, then plan now. I mean, don't mark the dates aside, whatever, look for the announcements, because even if you're not a member, even if whatever, it's just, and I've seen plenty of people that are non-members. A lot of them are going to be.
It's open to the industry.
But it's open to the industry, and it's an incredible event. And I just decide that next year you're going to be here, because there is nothing like it. It's not, there's nothing like it in the industry.
It's funny, as you're saying that, we can hear golf balls being hit in a simulator behind us. So it was like punctuation marks on your point. That there's nothing like it. There really is nothing like it.
Yeah.
Beth, what about you?
I would definitely echo that there's kind of two perspectives. One is someone who hasn't come. We personally invite you to come.
Yeah.
I'll jump on his sales thing and say, if you don't completely enjoy yourself, we will refund your money. We will back our product. We will guarantee a good time.
Yeah.
So as soon as you see those Collective 25 registration links going out, which they already exist, and you will see within the next week, just jump in and commit. Like he said, plan it like you'd plan a vacation with your family next year. Just mark it off.
Yeah.
And we really want you to come, and we hope to wow you and just give you a great time. Coupled with a lot of value, of course. And then for people that are here, that are listening, please take the time to give us some feedback. It's just so important to hear the things that you feel like we did really well that you want to see again, and then the things that you just feel like, man, they just missed. We want to know that, because we want to improve. We want to deliver what is valuable to the people that we partner with. And so that's super important to us. So the feedback for people that were here, and then if you weren't here, please join us next year.
How long is that survey going to be open? Do you know, Beth?
It'll be open for probably the next week, but we hope that people will jump right in on their way home, because it's still very fresh on their mind.
Cool.
So it's a good activity for a plane ride home, just to spend some time giving us some of that feedback.
Okay. I love it. Awesome. Thank you both for coming on and chatting. I know it's one more thing today, and I know you got a few more hours of events and activities, but
my phone's pinged just a few times.
People
looking for me, so.
We'll get you out of here. Thanks again so much, and we're going to have you both on again in the future. Tom, we got to talk more. I know you're new to the core world, and so I'd love to kind of pick your brain a little bit on that.
I got lots to say.
Lots to say. And then Beth, as we maybe kind of dive into looking at next year, obviously got to have you on again. So thank you both.
All right,
and we'll talk to you later.
Safe travels home.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.